Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Heritage Tree Board meeting. It is the 27th of March, or as I can tell, it's 8:32 in the morning, and we will call this meeting to order. And as by way of roll call, we'll just go around and introduce ourselves. So I'm Rich Salza. I'm a city councilor for Philomath, and I am the Public Works Committee Chair, and will be chairing this meeting.
Gianna Bernardini.
Guy Yeager.
Graham Cedars.
I'm Gary Black. I work for Public Works. I'm the operations supervisor.
Shannon Miller, Administrative Assistant at Public Works.
Great, okay. So it looks like we only have one piece of consent agenda, and this is I was kind of looking at very old minutes. It said March 27th. I said, how could the minutes be from the same? Oh, 2024. Okay, well, that would make sense. So there you go. So any amendments or comments on the minutes, or I will entertain a motion from the board members to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
No changes.
Okay, good. I'll entertain a motion to accept the, so moved. Okay, I need a second.
Oh, sorry, second.
Very good. So it's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda, accept the consent agenda by the minutes of March 27th, 2024. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. So we're going to move right into the reason for the board meeting, which is the Heritage Tree Board business. Looks like has a sum total of one item.
There's two, sorry.
Sorry?
There's two.
Are there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, there's two nominations.
well,
but
two
one item.
nominations.
Yeah, two
but-
nominations.
But one item. Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Okay, cool. And so I think it's best, let's take a look. Given that this is the Heritage Tree Board, Gary, why don't you supply kind of the background, and then we'll kind of take a look to see what the next steps are, yeah?
Well, the Heritage Tree Board meets to officially document whether a tree is worthy of heritage tree selection. We have two trees that were nominated this year. One was nominated in 2024 and has been brought back up. The other one is the one that was brought up this year by our Eric Neiman, who's a citizen, lives on Applegate Street. The other one is from Gianna up on North 9th Street. So with that, you have your packets in front of you. If you guys want to look at, we'll start with the Heritage Tree number one, which is it's a tree along Applegate at the Peace Lutheran Church. I'm not going to read this to you. I think you guys can read. I've seen the tree. It's a nice looking tree. I like some of the write-up for what Eric my only reservation is it's not a very unique tree. Standard looking little
It's a Colorado spruce.
Spruce. I mean, other than it was dedicated for a fallen soldier, I'm not sure it would make the list other than that. So, and I'm not trying to sway anybody either way. You guys can make a final decision, but that's just what I read out of the nomination.
Got that. Okay.
So, tree board members, excuse me, Heritage Tree Board members, you guys can discuss that. How you guys want? So,
I think helpful to that is just reviewing the criteria for what makes a heritage tree. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I wasn't a part of the formation of this. I'm just doing it from memory, but a heritage tree can be a heritage tree because it is a tree of significant age or significant size or significant cultural value. So, one example of that is in Corvallis, there's a black cottonwood tree that is both large and, I think at least 200 years old, but was also the witness tree for the incorporation of Corvallis. So it kind of ticks all of those things. And so this one, I think in particular, the only one of those three criteria it meets potentially is the significant cultural value.
Okay, good. Thanks. That's very helpful. Good.
Yeah, I would second that. As you point out, it's nothing particularly significant as a tree itself, but trees have often been used to document significant. They're a common symbol of various things. We put as a species, all cultures put a lot of weight on trees, and we often plant them as a memorial to memorialize births or marriages or deaths. And I think this is clearly a case of that. And we also have the Christmas tree in front of the museum, is larger and a little more impressive, but that's not nominated, and that's not a heritage tree because of that particular tree. It's a heritage tree because of what it means to the community, and because that is where we hold our celebrations in the winter. And I feel like I'm sorry, I've only had one cup of coffee. As a way of honoring a citizen sacrificed community, I feel like that's I'd be happy to.
I guess my only concern is I don't want us as a board to set a precedence.
Yep,
Every tree that gets planted now, my mom dies and I plant a tree.
you're right. It does.
It does. I just.
We are open to that possibility.
For sure. So, it is great young man, fought for this country. I just don't know. I guess I don't want to start something that if we're not as a community willing to continue with that moving forward. We've had a pretty tight selection process. If this wasn't in memorial of this young man, this would not make a cutoff by any means. It doesn't meet any of the criteria. It's not significant size, not significant age. It makes one of the three. So, but I'm only one person here, so if you guys have other conversations.
Well, but you only have to meet one of the
That's true.
criteria.
Right.
But it is also true, though, that you're right, that I suppose you could argue that it's not of significance to the entire community necessarily. It's of significance to, the family or what have you. I suppose I was thinking of it more in terms of being representative of folks who serve the country. And I guess I was thinking of it more in terms of a little bit broader of being a memorial for those in the military who have passed. But
we have a park now in Philomath that is for
that's true.
all veterans.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
This one's nominated for one veteran.
Right.
As a veteran, and I'm a veteran, and I understand the importance of having this stuff for veterans, but like I said, I don't want to open it up as precedents for every single tree that gets planted. We got a grove of trees down at Marysville Park that didn't make the selection because they were in honor of the graduating class of 1957 or whatever it was. It wasn't significant enough to the board at that time to make those heritage trees. So we want to make sure that as we move forward, we will be all gone. And, as this board moves forward in the next 10, 15 years, we just want to make sure we're setting the precedents today to continue with that selection process. So,
And then Gary, just as a kind of point of this too, this is a this is a recommendation actually to the city council, who then would enact the heritage tree
I believe
designation.
whatever recommendation.
Right, so
we
this is a
decide.
committee recommendation that ultimately then rests with the city council, which ultimately then has also the choice to say yes or no
They can
at
veto
that
it, yeah.
point, yes? Okay. I just want to make sure that that's kept in mind, that whatever happens here, it may get altered. If it doesn't get recommended by the board, the council would never see it.
For sure.
You get that?
Mhm.
If it is recommended by the board, then the council would see it, and then they would have to agree with that to actually then create the designation. Yeah, okay, cool.
I've been asking different people around me, my employees and stuff in my tree business, like have these situations with getting their input on them. And one of my arborists brought up the question about this tree in particular. What about all the other fallen soldiers from Philomath? Like this one is representing one of them, but does
Yes,
it really represent all of them? Or is it kind of like we're talking about, is it giving, there's just that question of like, is it honoring an individual or is it honoring a group of individuals that are all from the same area? And I think that the Memorial Park very much honors that body of people. And in one sense, I'd love to see a tree there that's going to become like an enduring representative tree. And this one to me is really like, I think in the community's mind is honoring that individual soldier. So the other consideration with it that I'm thinking of is that part of the reason that I want to have a heritage tree program in Philomath is to just protect trees a little bit, or to give some recognition
That's
to
right.
valuable trees, because if
Yeah.
they're not valued a lot of times when they become inconvenient, then they're
Yeah.
removed. And so this tree, it already has that kind of protection
Oh,
of
for
it.
sure.
In like a big landscape area, it's unlikely to be, especially because it's already honoring a veteran, it's very unlikely to be removed except at great need. So I think it already kind of has that protected status without being a heritage tree.
right.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, 'cause where it's at. I mean, the road's never going to widen.
Mhm.
There's no sewer, no water project ever going to happen in that. The only thing that would take that tree down would be the property owner.
Mhm.
City's never going to come in there. Well, we need to widen the road 40, 50 feet. It's never going to happen on that street. So the only way that would go down is if it either dies or they take it down. And I don't see them taking it down I mean, it's a nice looking tree. I mean, it's healthy.
Yeah.
Why would they take it down? So.
I also want to put my arborist hat on for a minute and just say that Colorado blue spruce do not really do great in this area. They look really good for the first 20 to 30 years of their life. And then as they start to get in that 40 to 50-year range, they very consistently develop mite issues and the canopy starts to thin out, and they don't just die necessarily, but they become really scraggly and sparse looking. And in 16 years of tree work, I have yet to see a nice looking one that's over 50 years old. So
Interesting.
in that sense, like I look at that tree, I'm like, that's a short-term tree in that landscape.
I was curious specifically why they chose that one, if there was significance to that species or whatever. I didn't know that about them.
They're blue, so that's like I think that I don't know the answer to
Oh.
that question, but it is a very
visible.
popular ornamental tree to plant just because it has interesting
Kind of a cool
foliage.
color.
They just really look nice when you put them in. And so
Yeah.
there might be a specific reason for it that I don't know, but it's a pretty common tree that's planted here. However, they don't age well. That's really offensive.
My only input here is I'm kind of in agreement with sort of that designation, that heritage designation should be specific and to the intent of what that designation looks like. And I don't think this meets that, honestly. I think that they could do a lot of things with Peace Lutheran Church in terms of a memorial or a plaque or whatever they want to do. That'd be more local stuff. Having dealt with this in Salt Lake City before, when my own son passed away, it was really at the level of the property as opposed to a city sort of thing, which I think is appropriate, and for all the reasons that you just mentioned. So, okay. So is there any consensus then in terms of where the nomination is going to lie here, which is fine that we just decline to move it forward. That's an option.
I would say that, like, initially I'm inclined to vote no on it, but the only thing that would change that is if that individual tree was somehow in recognition of veterans from Philomath in general, rather than just an individual. Because to me, I think that that would create a little bit more connection with the community, but I don't think that that would be a good
Yeah.
thing. Like, I feel like that would be
And I think that's,
respectful to
yeah,
that soldier to then just broaden that. But that, to me, that would change my answer if we could kind of capture that broader community value.
Yeah. And that would be appropriate to have a feedback mechanism back to the petitioner that would say, in recognition of, this particular individual, which is great and all of that stuff, but from the designation of a heritage tree standpoint, if it were a large thing, but we already have a park that kind of does that sort of thing, right? Response to this. All right, any other
The
discussion?
board members,
Yeah,
you guys are, what do you guys, I mean, you guys need to vote one way or the other,
exactly.
because we're just
I'm
staff.
going to vote no on that.
For all of the reasons that you said, it seems reasonable to decline this one.
You guys brought up some good and compelling
Okay,
points, so I agree, yeah.
we'll just do that by consensus.
Talk about the next tree that is on our list. It's large tree on North Ninth, very large.
Three trees.
Three trees, yeah, very large.
College, is that where I'm looking at?
Ninth
Ninth College.
Right by the
Correct.
Right by those
Right on the
railroad
tracks,
tracks?
exactly.
That little carriage house that's right there, yeah.
I'm gonna let Gianni, she nominated, so go ahead. Talk about it.
This is a resubmission. When we first brought it up, there was there wasn't consensus about these trees. And I believe Graham had concerns in particular because they're funky and over their
That's
longevity.
a technical term, is it?
That's right.
Okay, good.
Arbor's term, funky.
And so I think we tabled the vote at that point because I had expressed a desire to have, it seemed appropriate to me to have a Doug fir among our heritage trees if there were any that were deemed worthy. So we sort of tabled the vote in order for folks to bring forth a quote unquote better submission. And none therefore coming. I walk by this tree often, and whenever I do walk under them, I stop and I look at them and I'm like, dang, those are, to me, they warrant status. I love these trees. I love that they're funky. I love their size. I love the fact that they frame this very beautiful old house. I wish I knew more about the history of either the house or the trees, and I was unable to find either. I mean, the house is old, but it's not like the Beathers house. It's not, as far as I know, the oldest or anything like that. I also like that it's on a major street, right on the sidewalk, so it's easily accessible and often seen, but I also think that it nicely falls under the kind of thing that people will drive by and not notice unless it was pointed out. Said, no, look at these. These are actually huge. These things they're the size that you don't often find in an urban environment. You don't often find Doug firs of that size in a town. You'll find those in a forest, but so for that reason, I do think they qualify to me. But I know you had some reservations, Graham, and feel free to voice those again.
To maybe kind of recap what's in the minutes from the previous discussion. a little bit. These trees are large. Typically Douglas fir have a single stem structure, and all of these trees have what's called a codominant stem structure. So at some point in their life early on, they either were topped or a top broke out, and then the lateral branches kind of took over and became new tops. And so whenever that happens to a tree, there's the potential for there being decay in the stem there, and so they can be weaker trees because of that. So that one question was, wow, these trees might have structural issues that we are not able to determine without further investigation. But they're also not representative of the species in that sense of like, this is not your classic Douglas fir shape. So those are kind of the two things, like maybe it's can have issues. On the other side of that, they have had that codominant stem structure for probably 70 years or more. So it's, they have weathered the Columbus Day storm, they've weathered, lots of things, and they're still there. So I think that, barring like, further developments that we can't tell, I think that they have stood the test of time in that sense from a stability standpoint. So,
Well, they've got, I don't know what you call them, bracing, like
they have cables in them?
Yes.
I didn't see that.
yeah,
So there's already been some mitigation.
exactly, like they're being held up. I don't know if that was preventative or,
It's preventative.
yeah.
Well, how old do you think they are?
Well, it says here in the notes that the house was built in 1886. Those trees are native trees, and so it's very possible that they predate the house or they were planted around that sometime. I think that given their size, they look like they were probably planted either like close to the building of the house or possibly before, not much after. So, this says they're about 140 years old. I think that's probably a good guess.
Yeah, I
Those
walked
trees
by them
typ-
too.
those trees typically last 200-300 years or?
It depends on the environment. So in a forest environment, Douglas fir trees can last 500 or 600 years in ideal conditions. There's a lot of examples of those in the forest. In a city setting, a lot of that is affected by, you put in a road here after that tree was already a mature tree, and then a sidewalk, and you compacted the soils here, and you put in a house foundation over here. And so all those kinds of things typically shorten the lifespan of a tree. So in an urban setting, it really is very site specific. But I looked at them this morning. They look like they have a lot of vigor, nice healthy crowns. There's probably things that you can do to help them, but like they seem like healthy trees. And so I would expect them to be around for quite a while. What typically happens with those trees is if we have significant wind storms or ice storms, they will lose limbs rather than uproot from, unless there's like been root disturbance, they typically will have limb failures. And in the case of these trees with codominant stems, they'll have large stem failures in it. But that's kind of what happens to them in storms. And that's probably why the cables were put in previously, is to help kind of make them more stable for storm situations. Like Gianna said, that like we haven't had any other nominations for a Douglas fir. There are other examples in Philomath of trees of similar size, maybe similar age, but there's not any that I've seen that are better candidates for a heritage tree, because these are close to the road, so they are visible. People will actually, there's a sidewalk that runs right in front of them and a little bump out grassy area that would be perfect to put a plaque in. So they're going to get a lot of visibility. If there are bigger trees, they're probably in someone's backyard or, kind of farther away from public eye. So they're probably the best candidates that we have at least within the city limits right now for a Douglas fir heritage tree, I would say.
Awesome.
I think they're great. And I think it's great that there's a group, they work together. They have like 3 times as much energy.
There was one up on Neeback Hill, which a couple people mentioned to me. And I've looked at it and it's not as big. It's a nice big Doug fir. And it is, it's more archetypally Doug fir shaped, single stem and very healthy, but I just look at it and I'm like, meh, it's just a big Doug fir. To me, these have more interest and more character and more, I don't know, I just
Wow
like them
factor.
more. Yeah. Like when I see those, I'm like, yeah, those are heritage trees. The other one, I'm like, oh, that's a nice, good tree.
Have
But
you
it just-
made contact with the current homeowner?
Yeah, it's the same.
The same, okay.
Yeah.
Because he lives out in Kings Valley, right?
Correct.
And he's still interested in it being a heritage.
I assume. He was very enthusiastic at the time.
I just don't want to go and make him heritage tree, then he has issues.
That's a good point. Yes.
You want to take him out.
I can confirm. Oh, we should have coffee.
I would, my kind of other thoughts on this tree are that there are other similar Doug firs in town that are not that different, even just driving around
Mhm.
within 4 or 5 blocks of that tree. There are other Doug firs that to me are like, oh, it's probably about the same age, has that same kind of codominant stem structure. And so I don't think that these, aside from the fact that they're on 9th Street, really promote them above other trees that much. And like, because of that, I would rather see, like, I think these trees have a lot of value in the city. But I would rather see them protected by some kind of a city ordinance that protects large trees. And I think that would be better, like trees like this would be better served by being protected in that way. But because we don't have something like that, I'm very much in favor of making them a heritage tree so that they do.
It would,
Have some-
by definition, fall under that protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're not technically protected, but they do just have the recognition protection of this tree has some value. You should think twice before cutting it down.
Right.
You know, it has that at
Right.
least going for it.
Right.
So.
Any other discussion? If not, I'm open to a motion to nominate, to accept the nomination of that tree to forward that to the city council. That would be one of you
That
guys.
grove of trees, there's 3 of them, right? We nominate all 3 of them?
Yeah.
Nominate all 3 of them.
Yeah,
I think you said that tree.
oh, sorry, the trees, sorry.
So was that a motion or a vote?
No, that
It's a
would
request
be,
for a motion.
that, you guys have to make the motion and.
I make the motion to approve those trees
Okay.
or nominate those trees.
All right, good,
Like second.
very good. Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Very good. All right, motion passed. Okay, well, with that, I think we've kind of exhausted the agenda so far as I can see. Any other last minute, non-official good of the order to bring to
I have a
the?
heritage tree question for maybe a future nomination. There is a somewhat large and probably quite old Oregon white oak in front of the Philomath Community Church. Is that on city property or is that
Oh.
owned by the church?
I'd have to look at how it nature, because we do
If
have,
it's on the street side of the sidewalk.
we do have some large right of ways there, so
Mhm.
we look at that.
But I'm interested in nominating that for a future
Oh, I
one.
like
I want to figure out who to talk to.
Yeah, that's a really great thing that you brought up, Graham, because if there's a tree that's on the outside of someone's property fence, between their fence and the sidewalk, would that count as city property then, or the?
Where you're at, if you're in some of the older section of town, north side of town, we have 80-foot right of ways.
Ah,
Because back in the day, they had horse and buggy fire trucks. Had to have 80-foot turnarounds. That's the reason why they were that way.
Seriously?
wow.
But a lot of newer ones are 30 to 40 feet right of ways. So
This is on
Because we
11.
use smaller horses now.
a lot of horses, smaller trucks. So
So on 11th, near Pioneer, there is what I think is a redwood. I should have brought it to confirm that. That's amazing. And what you were saying, if it's on private property like the churches or something, it would pretty much be protected unless, it got disease or something, the property owner made a,
Well, actually the opposite. If it's in the city right of way, there's a review process for removing trees. And so that comes before the tree board and we have a discussion about that. And so it's much less likely to be removed
it'd be
if
protected.
it's on city property. If it's on private property, there's really nothing currently to prevent a private property owner from cutting down any tree of any size on their property. So
Oh, sorry, that's what I meant,
Okay.
backwards, but, so if that was more on the city property because it's near the sidewalk, it might have a chance of being,
It might
Brought
be
to the
it might
committee
be
and-
our tree,
okay,
the city's tree.
I'll take pictures.
Right, just not very far from this grove of trees. There was a big one taken down, just right down on the south side of College Street, just last summer by the homeowner. It was a big old, I think, pine tree or whatever,
Mm,
and they took it down because it wasn't our tree. So I'm not sure why they took it down. I come into work one day and it was down. I was like, well, what's wrong with that tree?
that's likely to keep happening because there are a lot of small small houses in Philomath. And as development progresses, those are going to get rebuilt or expanded into larger homes. And the trees that are around those are
yeah,
at high risk.
Yeah,
Just because it's really difficult to preserve large trees if you're digging around them. So
yeah,
I'm thinking that tree up by the Union Church is our tree. We have limited that. They reached out to me a couple of years ago and I hired somebody to go up in because it was leaning on the building of the church. And they went up and trimmed up the branches off. So it might be our tree.
that tree, if I were to guess, is probably about 200 years old. I'm guessing similar to whatever the
I think it's starting to have a lot of issues though, because during the frolic last year, it lost a huge branch, blocked the whole road up. So it's having a lot more issues now. It might be on this last way out, I'm not sure.
It could be changing, but there are options short of just removing it.
Yeah, I don't really want to
help.
move it, but I just want to make sure.
Oaks can lose lots of stuff and still still
Mhm.
plug away. Just be a little stump.
Folks are physical or fickle. Oh, one day they look good.
We're also physical.
But they are a little unpredictable that
It's like,
way.
wow, that was a good looking tree. Now it's not. So
All right.
Uh,
Having said all of that, as far as I can understand from what I read here, that this meeting happens once a year. Is that correct?
nominations are due.
It's the third Thursday in March. Yeah.
third
So-
Tuesday,
Sorry.
third Tuesday.
Okay, cool.
So
I
then
think if an issue comes up with a tree, they can meet
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
if
yeah,
we
yeah,
meet
that's what I meant.
unneeded,
Yeah,
but typically.
okay.
at least.
So the next meeting will be TBC
Mhm.
at this particular point, depending on if there's any nominations that come before the board, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, good.
somebody did try to submit one after the deadline, and Shannon let them know that they had missed the deadline.
This year?
So there'll be one already in queue for next year.
Okay. Save the date.
Yeah.
So we'll have one in the queue for next year.
Good.
All right, having said that, I am officially closing out the meeting at 9:05 a.m. So let's be done. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Okay,
I have some unofficial business about next week, Arbor Day. Everybody gonna be there?
Yes.
Here at
Let
the
me close this one.
library.